is important. Okay, so this is BCIS Online, which good to know that somebody has an office access. I don't know as well if some other people on the call, um, have access. So all I want to do here is to kind of, the person that has access, I believe, will be familiar with some things a lot more than others. Okay, but what I want to do is touch on specific things. Okay, like an introduction for the assessment. Permit me, I'll be referring to the assessment, okay, just to help the class and help myself as well. Okay, for the assessment, you will not have to log into BCIS Online. I will extract the information you need for you, okay, for several reasons, maybe internet reliability and things like that, okay? So, but if you know where the information came from, it might be easier for you to use those information. For instance, I will extract the indices you need, both location and time. Okay. Then if there's any other thing, yeah, I will extract them. So all I just want us to do right now is to explore the interface, see the different categories of information, so that beyond the assessment where I'm going to extract those information, you can actually interact with BCIS Online as a cost database. Okay, which of course I know it's not all organizations that subscribe to BCIS. So it's also an opportunity to see um, what this particular database can do. So usually there are different things you can get from here, but what affects us mainly is project cost. Okay, and before I proceed to this side, you can see accepted tender breakdown. So kind of at least really reliable. So after clicking on the project cost, okay, you can see the other drop down, the information on the drop down. Analysis, this is where we have the cost analysis and average prices, okay? It's a very simple way of, getting average prices, okay? If I click on this doesn't take time, average prices, and I say use current date, and I go in to pick maybe residential facility, and let me pick one quickly because this is actually not where I wanted to go. Okay, but I just like the outputs, this generates. Okay, and I've selected some uses, then study, per square meters. And if I want it functional unit, I can as well decide what I want the, cost study to be. And I can select new build or rehabilitation or conversion. And I'll say, yes, just give me an average rate. I mean, average of rates. So rather than, the time conversion we talked about, BCIS, you can actually instruct BCIS to do the date for you. Okay. If I know, oh, the date factor is going to be the date I want it to be. If I want the rates generated to be for today, I will leave it at first quarter. But if I want the rate to be for December, I'm going to take it to fourth quarter of 2025. Okay. Fourth quarter of 2025 forecast. Then fourth quarter of 2025 would be the base date, like I was trying to explain before, but I'm leaving it first quarter. Okay. So with that, I will not have to do any calculation to adjust for time. BCIS will do it for me. You can see the variation. The first explanation, manual adjustment for time. And now I'm trying to use BCIS. I'm saying you won't have to do that. Okay, let's proceed. Location factor. Okay. Now, where we want to build a project, the previous one we did, we adjusted from London to Newcastle. Okay. But in this case, I actually won't have to bother. I'm just going to go straight and say, yes, the project is going to be in Newcastle. If I want to be so detailed, I'll go to Newcastle. And if I want to keep it at the higher level a bit, I'll select time and where. Okay. And I'm going to close. Yes, I selected Newcastle because I'm in Newcastle. Okay. Yeah. So results, let's see the different rates. Okay. So what this has done for me is to generate the different rates, mixed development for housing. and this code's telling us the classification with regards to building use, okay, and all that. Okay, so let's make use of this. The rate cost per meter square definitely is this 1410. Okay, I might not bother about all others, even though further much more advanced analysis, I might make an argument for median ahead of mean. Okay, and I might say, okay, if the lowest is 751, the highest is this. Actually, I'm tending towards the highest because what I'm planning to do is likely to be, among the top notch, so let me go for a higher rate. Okay, but the key thing is if I pick main, which is the unit rate for this kind of development, okay, then I can go ahead to say I want to do my order of cost estimate, Harley cost advice, okay. And of course, all other ones we're not talking about them. It's beyond the scope of this particular model. Okay, so I can get that. How did I get here? I just clicked on the unit rate, okay, of the appropriate project. Okay, and I can say, okay, the gross internal floor area is 3,400. Okay, and it will do the calculation for me. Then I can type my project here. Um, yeah, that's my name. Okay, and maybe I should give myself a different name this time around. I don't know what to name myself. Okay, right, just title of the project. Just play with that. Okay, so locations adjusted, gross internal, external works. If it is not provided, you do your relevant calculations. We'll talk about that. It's going to be next week. Okay. How do we establish the cost of external works when it is not provided? Okay. Then adjustments. If there are other adjustments we want to incorporate. Okay. And if there are others, let's just put a value here and say 78,000. Okay. And if I need to adjust for COVID, days of COVID, 45,000, and the sign fees, let me say 12. Okay, so if nothing is provided for the sign fees as well, how can we establish it? We'll talk about that next week. Okay, so you can see it's a bit different from the exercise where all this information are provided. Okay, you have to look for this information, yeah, yourself. These are some of the complications here. Then project costs, the other development, I can say, okay, 23,000. But of course, all this should be based on one calculation or the other. And the risk as well, when risk value is not provided, how do I, know how much to incorporate? We'll talk about that as well next week. So when the details are not provided, how do you establish them? Okay, that's going to be one of the key things we're going to do next week. So, but for the sake of this exercise, let me just say 20,000, 3,000, and let me do this 2,000 or 2,000, and this one 4,500. Just an illustration. And yes, now tender inflation. Okay, now this is going to be about when I'm expecting the tender to be submitted, which this is one of the things I want to point out here, and that's why I'm actually talking about this. Tender inflation is different from the adjustment we did for rate initially. Okay, it's different from the adjustment we did here. Okay, the adjustment was just to update the unit rate, whereas tender is to cover for the change in price between the date we are doing this order of cost estimate or the date we have set as the base to the date of tender submission. So in this case, if I say then tender will be submitted in December 2025, I can pick fourth quarter of 2025, and definitely it has moved this to 124,000 for me. Okay, then now it's saying, okay, so what should I actually use? Use 100%. If you will be happy with that, if that is too much, use 10. Okay, and what else? Okay, cost limits established. Construction inflation. Yes, when will it not be considered? If the contract is a fixed contract, no changes to prices, no changes to price is allowed. No change to prices is allowed. And I will say yes, construction inflation, it will not be a fluctuating price contract. But if that is going to be allowed, then I'll have to do some other manipulations there to incorporate, construction inflation, like I explained earlier. But in this case, let's stick with fluctuation price, no fluctuation price contract. Then I can go ahead and say, yes, I'm expecting an OCE, PDF format or spreadsheet format, whichever one I, decide to use, generate that. Okay. I think that's a straightforward process, which, let me see if we'll be able to see this result on the screen. If it's not going to ask me to go back and share. Okay, it's working, I suppose. I believe you can see. So BCIS average prices, which information is this? Enable editing. No, this is not a document I want to open. I need my OCE, please. Get back. Previous. No, don't do that. No, this is not what I want, please. Oh, why would you? I don't have much time. Okay, good. I think it saved my figures. Yeah. So download and let's see what that will generate. If it doesn't give me the value I want, then something is wrong. But normally it should give me this OCE exactly the way it is. Okay. But if it doesn't, then I'll go and go through cost analysis. I'll tell you about that. So good. It gave me what I want. And this is my OCE if I choose to go do it through BCIS Online. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is this. Some situations you will have to use the manual one, and that means you'll be writing all those figures, do calculation for tender inflation yourself, do calculation for construction inflation yourself, adjust the unit rate yourself for location and time like you did in the exercise, and now look around to decide the percentage you're going to allow or the amount you're going to allow for risk, amount you're going to allow for design fees and things like that. But as well, you can come to BCIS Online to achieve that. So one other thing I just want to demonstrate, all I'm trying to do here now is to demonstrate. Initially, I went through average prices, okay? But it's also possible for me to go through the analysis tab, okay? And through the analysis tab, I will proceed very similar process. In this case, let me pick education now. Okay, let me just pick something. Educational and be fast with it. Age, still keeping my adjustment factors. Yeah, 7 analysis, that's fine. Here I have more options. There are several other things I can adjust. That's the beauty of it. Okay, remember, I'm just demonstrating just to get you to see what is contained in this database. Okay, basic specification, I can adjust if I know the actual floor area that I want to use, I can change it. Then if I know the number of stories I really want to use, I can alter it. But in the other tab, I didn't have that chance. Then here as well, I can control, series of other specifications. Okay, I don't want projects that are not concrete. I'll just select, I want projects that are concrete alone. Okay, I want projects that are steel framed alone and all that. Okay, but here I want all location code. So there are a series of other things I can adjust there. Then I will proceed quickly and I'll see my results, generate this for me, series of other things to adjust. These are the projects within that category, but I won't talk about them. They are individual projects, 7 projects identified. Each of the projects as well, I can get the information. Then proceed to see the graph. Okay. So on most of the time, what we use there is just this mean. Okay. Yes, you give me the cost information. The lowest is this, the highest is this, but most of the time we just use this. Okay, and I'll click on this. Bam. Then it takes me to where it took me the last time. Then I can follow the process, do my OCE again. Okay, so one last thing I want to demonstrate, okay, is you know, if we need to check for indices and different other information, I think we have less than 10 minutes. Okay, less than 5 minutes actually. Yeah, I need to finish before then. Okay, so the location, if we have to look for the indices ourselves, then I'll say yes. All I want is from tender price studies, I want to pick my location indices. Or if I want to pick tender, indices, this is where I'll come as well. General. For location, I'll pick location. And I can see the different locations in the United Kingdom. And I'll say yes, I'm in Newcastle, so where is northeast? I'll select northeast on the map. Then location indices for northeast is this. Okay, then I'm in Tyne and Wear, can pick Tyne and Wear. But if I want more detail, can say Newcastle 89. Okay, that's the location indices. And if the project I'm doing is somewhere West Midlands or East Midlands, wherever it is, I just click on the location on the map and think about maybe somewhere here, okay, Leicester, and I'll see the location indices and make use of it. But of course, like I said, I would have done this for you for the sake of assessment. I would have extracted different indices for different locations. But if you have to do it yourself, I am just demonstrating how you will do it. So if you need to do an estimate, you have a rate you want to update, BCIS Online is there for you to explore and get some information. Then quickly, let me see if I'll be able to do that in the next 2 minutes. If I say no, I want to see general and, with regards to building function, if that's what I need. And if I don't want that, I can still come back. The rule remains, just keep looking for what you want, if I may say, until you find its location still. Okay, regional trends. But like I said, there are some things we hardly, we hardly make use of. Okay, but let me not bore you with that. One other thing, and probably the last for today, is where to pick the actual tender, indices and the different other categories of indices. What I showed earlier was region, the location index or location indices. But if you need the tender indices, you come under indices and insights. Okay, and like I said, most of the time we just work with the tender price indices. Okay, all these ones, they have their implications, they have their times of use. Okay, but if we say a tender price, that's good enough, then most of the time we just pick the whole in. And the whole in basically says it's irrespective of the category of project. Okay, it brings everything together. Private housing, refurbishments, different categories. Just give us the indices. But if you want to be specific, you want indices for refurbishment alone, you select. Okay, and yeah, I've gone back to all-in tender price. And let me see what's just going to generate for us. So depending on what I intend to achieve, I can adjust the dates, okay, accordingly as well. Default from February 2023 to whatever thing I want it to be. It's 1985. Let me just see what this will generate. So if I need a TP high for last quarter of 2025, I can easily say yes, TPI for last quarter. The forecast is 412. First quarter of 2025, the current, is 40403. Okay. This is me just trying to say the information we use for OCE, it won't always be provided. We should be able to explore available resources to get this information. That's the purpose of this demonstration I'm trying to do. And like I said, this was assessed via the City Library, 6th floor. So you can log in remotely and just play around. Nothing is going to get, spoiled if you log on and try it on your own. Just familiarize, and I believe you're going to enjoy it. Again, I say it's possible for you not to be making use of this right now, but it's actually a knowledge I think you should have. Okay, irrespective of where you work at this point. Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it if you take that time to just familiarize.